Yeah.
Call me the Oregon Trail because next year when Lewis goes to Ferrari,
sorry,
because next year when Lewis goes to Ferrari, I'm jumping on the bandwagon, dude. I tell you that right now. I'm getting
the Oregon Trail.
All right,
I'm gonna be nothing but red every day. Okay.
That's so funny.
Get laced up.
Let's go.
It's time for Banter with the boys.
Yo, 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 welcome back to Banter with the Boys. Fast laps. What am I doing with my hands? I don't know what to do with my hands, but we're back at it again. Imola recap, Monaco preview. But of course, as always, right next to me, we got Joe, our co-host. Joe, what is poppin'?
Doing pretty good. I think you're just making up for the lack of excitement during that dang Imola race, unfortunately.
And we got another one coming up.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Got to do something with make it exciting, I guess. But anyway, moving right along. Cole, how's your week been?
Good. Is that a Will Ferrell throwback there?
Yeah. What was that from? Talladega Nights.
I
don't know what to do with my hands. Just keep them down. Yeah. So anyway, and it just anyway. Cole, how's your week?
Good. Raining again. I don't know what it is about these podcasts, but every time we get poured on, I feel like these days. So I was hoping we get a storm, but we didn't. So
we did. It just is
not the storm
done and over with, and it wasn't that intense like they said it was going to be.
And not the storm we were looking for.
Well, for you guys, yeah, for sure, no doubt. Right next to him, obviously, we got Tyler. Tyler, what's going on?
Not much, man. Just getting the house ready to get moved in here. It's a lot of work.
You haven't moved in yet?
No.
When is that?
In a perfect world this weekend, but that depends on how fast I can get this family room floor done.
Fair enough.
Hit me up. My ladies went on to Texas. I'll help you out.
Bet.
Congrats.
Thanks.
And as always, not even as always, because I always forget, actually. So as always, I have forgotten, but I will not this time. Kev behind the cameras puts this whole thing together. Thanks a lot, buddy. Let's just move right into the Imola recap. Is it Imola or Imola? Am I the only one that says Imola?
Imola. Should I break out the full name again?
Yeah. The RSC Emilio.
MSC. Imola, I think is. Yeah.
Imola. All right. So Imola recap. Let's just head right into Red Bull right off the bat. Verstappen obviously getting the dub. But if you saw the race, those last 5 laps, he was kind of getting threatened. But we'll stick with Red Bull, and then we'll definitely talk McLaren right after that. In my opinion, I think Verstappen's skill straight up won the race in those final 10 laps. It seemed like he was really struggling with the car. Lando closed on him. Then Verstappen kind of gained some more pace back with 4 laps to go. But then Lando was charging again. So what were your guys' take on Verstappen's closeout kind of the race?
Yeah, his car was falling apart. It was just getting worse and worse as the race kind of got on. As soon as it was about those 25 laps left. And I would agree with you. I mean, it's not often Max has to turn into a defensive driver. He's always going to be an aggressive driver, but for him to actually throw the defense on and prevent Lando from making that pass. But I mean, Checo, if we want to bring the other Red Bull into it, terrible weekend. Just terrible weekend for the performance you should see out of Red Bull. And then for him to come in after the race and say that Imola is not an F1 track. It's not meant for overpassing, which it isn't. It makes sense. There's only one DRS zone, but you say that as you're going into the pinnacle of racing in Monaco.
And you have the best car right now. That's why you have the qualifying, so you don't have to worry about that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But I want to jump back on what you were saying, Tyler, around Verstappen at the end of the race. Obviously, he raced a great race. I think everybody was rooting for Lando to get within that 1 second, the 2 laps ago. Everybody was rooting for that. Obviously, we talked about it a little bit with the dirty air and everything. Being a little bit more difficult to get there. And it was all basically around the tire degradation, right? Did I say that word right?
As far as I know.
Tire yeah.
Degradation? Is it
tire
degradation?
You gotta give me just say tire deg. Tire deg's easier.
Yeah. But I think as far as Verstappen, it was a good race. I don't know. I wanted Lando so bad at the end there. I've never rooted for somebody so hard that I don't really root for normally. I was hand in the air, but it was. Again, it was a boring race. Verstappen kind of just did what he did, and it's tough. It sucks.
Yeah, very boring race. I'm I'm pretty peeved we didn't see a lot of movement just throughout the field in general, especially within the top 10. In terms of Verstappen, I guess I'm a little surprised. I'm not super surprised. His weekend really wasn't looking good up until qualifying when he pulled in the fastest lap. Everyone was kind of expecting, maybe this is another race where he gets second, but yeah, he pulled out of his hat. I agree. I think it was a lot of skill. He managed his tires well up until the very end. And then Lando proved that he managed his tires better and then pushed maybe a little too hard. I think the dirty air is a really good point. Just kind of maybe got a little bit too much in there, but 2 laps more and we would have seen a fight from him. I think that would have been cool.
100%.
Yeah, a fight would have been interesting. Sorry, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here, but I was just looking here. Usually we don't have the spreads on the seconds.
Yeah.
And we have that in front of us here now. Oscar for a majority of the race was catching up to Leclerc. Am I wrong?
He was.
I didn't even notice it was that big of a gap at the end of the race.
Yeah, I think his first stint was better than his second, but yeah, Oscar was putting in a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not to jump back to Red Bull real quick. Do you think 2 things? First, Verstappen. Do you think Verstappen's feeling any sort of, I don't even want to call it pressure because he's world class and the best driver on the grid right now, but unless you talk to Cole, but
I would call it pressure.
Yeah, you think he's feeling at least a little bit of pressure right now? Like somebody's starting to challenge him.
He hasn't had an actual true challenger. I mean, even Checo hasn't been a challenger in 2 full years.
Yeah,
the end of the year last year when Sainz got his win, the championship was decided. Verstappen had nothing more to race for.
Sure.
Like he already had the most wins in a season, the most whatever. He had all the records he could fight for. And I mean, I wouldn't say that he took that race off by any means. I mean, the strategy won that race for Sainz last year, but it's just he hasn't had this sort of challenge since he was fighting Lewis for the championship, and that was what, 21?
That sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds
right.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
When the whole world stopped.
It was
in
21.
F1.
100% was cool. Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's some other cars we'll get into in a little bit that didn't make the big jump, but I mean, yeah, I think I agree with Tyler. He 100% is feeling the pressure right now, and it's a different ball game when you're racing against a car that can keep up. Like, how is he gonna compete with Lando? I mean, if Lando can keep performing how he's doing, and to be honest, Oscar's performing a lot better than probably a lot of people thought he would in his car.
Oh yeah, Oscar's performing he's just had bad luck.
It was, I wouldn't even call it bad luck. Like, it was his impeding in qualifying. When he impeded Magnussen, cost him a podium this race.
Sure.
Like, he had that he qualified ahead of Lando. He qualified P2 and had the 3-place grid penalty. And then it's hard to catch 2 Red Bulls and your teammate.
So I don't know if I didn't hear this or not, but I didn't hear any Red Bull communication around at the end of the race, like, you got to go, he's catching up or anything like that.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
They did? I must have missed
I thought they just kind of let him do his thing.
They came in and said, like, Lando is doing this or whatever. And then, like, Max had his little snarky response, and GP was like, it's just information. And then Max's response, and then because Max was like something with the tires, and then Max's response back was like, it's like this. He like mimicked the GP when he was saying, God, he's just such a snarky little.
But you're dialed in though. Like, he should know that Lando's charging. You got to know that. So maybe if you got to push a little bit more. But other than that, yeah, shut the heck up.
No,
like,
you got to let him know though. The gap that Lando was, how quick he was closing. Because then it comes down to like strategy too. How are we going to save the battery? Battery levels matter, and they had that communication at the end.
That was
I thought that was a thing at the end.
I thought it was bigger. Right when they started mentioning it, I was like, "Oh snap!"
They had double the battery. The McLaren had 60, and the Red Bull had 30.
Yep.
And it is. I don't know. I hate that because I think there should have been more communication around that. That's something I think I want to see. More communication around that. When Max just kind of dismisses it, it's not as fun to kind of see. Yeah. But like, it also shows, like, if that's not a perfect sign of pressure, then I don't know what is.
Sure.
That's a perfect sign of showing there's pressure.
At the end of the day, too, Lando's one of the most light guys on the grid, right? Always smiling. Mm-hmm. He had snarky responses back to his engineer this race.
Yeah, he did.
It was like Max level smart. I mean, it was in Lando's tone, so it's not just naturally snarky.
It's not naturally snarky.
But it was still, Lando was just like, basically, leave me the hell alone.
Because they're dialed in, dude. Lando knew exactly, like, again, tell him how close he's getting maybe, but like, they were dialed in.
But like, I guess that goes back to the point, was Max feeling pressure? Does he feel pressure now? Absolutely, because, I mean, I think it's without a question, Lando had pressure and felt pressure in that race to catch up, perform, and not mess up. Because all it takes is one slip up, and all of a sudden he's not in second. Something happens.
Or finishing the race. Or finishing the race at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Like me on F1, but one little. And actually, those last few laps, what do they call it in F1? When not oversteer or anything, but like when the wheel jerks back real quick. They
Traction
have
control.
No, they have a term for it, and I can't.
ABS?
I can't. No.
ABS.
It's like a weird term for it. But anyway, like it kept happening to Lando because he was just pushing that hard in and out of every corner, braking late. Like the dude was pushing.
He was pushing
But
hard.
I mean, if you saw the cockpit view or the TV pod view or whatever,
That's such a cool camera.
I love it. I love it. But like, if you go back and look, those last couple laps, his hands are snapping hard, and it's not over.
It's oversteer, understeer. No, it is.
But
It just depends on where it is and what you're doing. No, it is. It's exactly that.
They
They
just
have
say,
an
like,
understeer, and
losing
then
it.
that's when you have that correction.
They definitely got a term for it that everybody else uses. But
Back to your point about like the pressure and like the speed and stuff like that. When you have like a second speed, right? Like the kicker is the first lap when he started really gaining, he gained like over a second to Verstappen. So obviously Verstappen's upset, and he should be because he's just like, I want to lock in here. But if he doesn't get the information, you saw the first couple laps, there was a huge jump up. And then all of a sudden it was a gradual jump to catch him.
And then Verstappen even put in a couple lap times quicker than Lando.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 3-4 laps left to go. And then Lando
second.
started closing again.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he didn't let him get that second until he depleted his battery.
But you're
to the
right,
point where,
100%. If you don't know, how are you supposed to know if you should be really trying to send this thing?
Yeah.
And just real quick to wrap up Red Bull, do you think Checo starting on hards was a big reason why he didn't finish higher? Because when he switched to mediums, he came out at like 11th place or something like that with like 30 not even like 25 laps left, and he was able to climb back into points. He's not passing top class,
But he's passing
cars,
people
but
with hards on that are used when he has fresh mediums.
true, right?
Because it was like everybody's like strategy was just switched with Checo because he just went
Right.
longer with the hards, and then as those hards wore down, he put on fresh mediums as the hards were wearing down for the others.
Should they have gone quicker? Like, do you think he could have finished in front of the Mercs if he would have, not ran the hards as long,
No.
or if that
don't-
wasn't their strategy? You don't
I
think it
don't
would have
think
made a difference?
No.
With how the
Because
tire
that's kind of
deg-
what he's blaming his off race on.
I would say maybe if the tire deg wasn't so bad for Max, who had the other strategy,
Sure,
right? And I think that
sure.
might have had a play in it.
You think
with,
either
like-
way though, it's just a rough race for Red Bull. Yeah, they won, but it wasn't great.
No, I mean a 1-8 or
But
Yeah,
even
1-8 is not a
even
good
the one
finish for Red
we've been just talking, and now we're gonna go in and talk about Lando and Oscar. But obviously, like even that one is kind of suspect heading into a weekend that you need a really good qualifying to finish at well.
And me and Tyler were talking about this, I think Monday, so yesterday. Like the point gap right now between like Red Bull and Ferrari and Red Bull and McLaren in the constructors is not that crazy.
Well, and we'll talk about that next show, I think. Let's do another rundown of constructors and driver champion. But you're making a really good point, dude. Like, I mean, it's
It's a lot
Who
closer than you
knows,
think
dude?
at this point. Than you would
100%.
think with how dominant Mac's been this year. It's a lot closer than you'd think.
yeah, from what we've been seeing the past few years where we're just so used to just running away with it. But
just a quick note on that, just
yeah.
because I'm looking at it. What surprises me is it's closer between Red Bull and Ferrari than Ferrari and McLaren.
what? Nuh-uh. It's close. Really?
It is. So it's a 56 point gap between Red Bull and Ferrari. It is a 70 or 68 66 point gap between McLaren and
I'm no Ferrari fan,
Ferrari.
but I would love to see a Ferrari win this week. Might as well just give it to Charles. Let him win in his home.
Finally.
Oh, that would be
Yeah.
so
Of course.
bittersweet.
That'll be
Oh, in
like-
Monaco?
Yeah.
And his little Pinto he drives around over there.
But let's quick stay on Imola, not Imola. McLaren. I mean, obviously we've already touched on. We don't need to spend too much more time on them, but I'd say exactly what we were looking forward to this weekend as far as McLaren goes. What do you McLaren fans think?
Oh, yeah.
You American hypocrites.
They are, I mean, happily, they are keeping their pace up. They're still going really strong. Lando able to, I mean, literally almost fight Max at the end. It was another race where Max isn't gaining like up until the end of the race. People were actually gaining up on him, you know?
Sure. I mean, couple more laps. Do you honestly feel he would have caught him, or would have Max still been able? And that's, dude, with the tire wear,
It's
too, that's
all-
so
yeah.
relative, right? But like, I'm just saying, like, if there's 4 more laps,
2 more laps, Lando wins that race.
because he gets into DRS and is
He
now
got into with 7 seconds of the
I don't
finish.
know. I think
It's, the Red Bull tires were only getting worse, and the way McLaren had handled their tires, dude,
Yeah.
it's
I
more
think
laps.
two
I
more
think.
seconds, or sorry, 2 more laps, knowing how close it is to the end of the race. We didn't get to see Verstappen really defend against Norris. Norris had only just
That's
got up
true.
to him. That close to the end of the race.
there's one
Verstappen's
Verstappen
getting wide.
he's a good defender,
He
though.
is.
But at the
I
end
mean,
of the-
but we haven't really seen true defense from him since 2021 or whatever.
And
when
Yeah.
he
that
was-
track though, it's not there's one spot to pass on that track, and it's the DRS zone coming out of the first turn there. And it's like at the end of the day, there's no way to defend. You can make the move to dip down,
But when
the
a driver's
faster
on
car's gonna
DRS,
win.
Yeah.
but Max would have
You know
been,
what I mean?
would have Max been crazy aggressive with it with the condition of his tires?
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
think so.
Do,
He would've
do they
defended
both
for
end
the
up
win.
wrecking? Like,
But it's just
I don't know. I'm not trying to say
you
that
just
Max
can't
is a
really
wrecker,
defend DRS
but- 'cause
nowadays.
he's not. You can't defend it. Oh.
At the end of the day, it's like you,
was like, I like
because you only
DRS,
get one
but-
move, right? You can only sway one way
Right.
before you can't like to go
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
So you make that one move, you get that outside or inside. Depends on who's later on the brakes.
Got to hit him with the juke move.
Yeah.
Watch our NFL
I
pod.
think it all came down to him just having DRS. If Lando hits DRS on him on a full straightaway right there on the DRS
If he's
spot,
within
If
0.7
he's within-
going
yeah,
into the
yeah,
DRS.
yeah,
So
I mean,
Right.
probably
it's
closer
done.
actually, because I don't think even with DRS, I think you get close to him near the end of that straight. I don't know if you pass him. And it would need to be on the second to last lap because the DRS zone, like the start of the DRS zone, is so close to the finish that you're not
Yeah.
going to get on the last. So
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
for sure.
it would have
Yeah,
been
true.
a lot of strategy talks. We talked about that 60% to 30% battery, right? So Lando had the power to do it. I want to see them like really like head to head fight a little bit more.
I
We
mean,
saw
I really wanna see
Lando.
it.
We saw Lando run off. Max maybe with damage. I don't want to take Lando's win away from him. Obviously, he earned it, but yeah, I want to see a head to head between him and Max and really see who takes it.
It sucks. The next race is what it is. Obviously, it's a
Yeah.
fun race. We'll get into that in a bit, but it sucks that is what it is because reality is there's not really going to be a fight on that race like this.
No, but the outlook of the season is looking way more interesting
Yes.
than it did
Heck yeah.
when we're first starting the show this year.
You
I
get
would
to these
say.
tracks that have, 2, 3, or like 3 DRS zones. It's going to be
It's gonna
a
be
fun
wild.
battle then.
It's going to be wild.
It's like almost to the point now where so many times last year, if Max was, I mean, you could argue in the top 15, he's winning that race. And this year, like if he's in the top 5, if he's not at first and he's down like the 5th, it's gonna be tough. It's not gonna be so easy for him just to come in and blow it away.
He won't blow it away, but it'll be some battling for
Yeah,
sure.
that's what
And
I'm saying. It's gonna be a
that's the
race.
type of battle I'd like to see is somebody else in the lead and Max trying to battle back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the true. We already know he's great, but that would be like the true test. This dude is still battling cars that are almost getting to that equal point as the Red Bull, and Max is using his skill to continue to beat them. That would say something. Again, nothing that there needs to be said right now because he's still the best on the grid.
Right.
Unless you're Cole. Again. So let's just talk about Ferrari real quick. Charles getting the podium. Allegedly first podium since 06 in Imola. And take a wild guess who that would have been.
I'm pretty sure I know it, so I'll let you guys go.
Bobby Schmurda.
Oh, it's
Bobby
Wait,
Schmurda.
are you sure it's 06? It's
Yeah.
Schumacher.
At
obviously.
Imola,
Yeah.
specifically
At Imola,
Imola.
it's their
But
first
yeah,
podium.
Actually, I think it was called San Marino in 06. Anyway,
We were just talking about this guy off right before
Yeah.
we started filming.
The Italian
Bobby Schmurda?
GP, I believe, is what it was like technically.
Bobby Schmurda. We were just talking about him.
But yeah, Schumacher. Yep.
were?
Yep. And then,
Schumacher.
I mean, are we that, God, are we
Oh,
that
man.
like surprised with how Ferrari performed this weekend? I mean, considering all the practices and heading in quali, are we that surprised at their final spots?
I mean, the car's definitely faster, but I don't think it was as big of a jump as we thought, or as I thought.
4/10.
No, it wasn't 4/10.
I mean, Carlos
Definitely
came out
not.
and said it was overhyped.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Yeah.
But he
quoted
also said he
saying
was
that
saying it
everything was
all week.
overhyped.
Yeah.
He was saying, I've been saying all week that the upgrades
Yeah.
aren't as big as what they are. I just can't tell you the times.
He also called Imola a McLaren circuit, but I don't believe that in a minute.
Wait, he said that?
Carlos Sainz quoted, on Sky Sports F1. It was he was quoted saying that it was a McLaren circuit.
That's insane because that track, it was literally designed, built, and
I know.
made to test the Ferrari. It's 10 miles away from it's named after one of the freaking
2006 Ferrari, maybe, I guess.
You can look it up, but like definitely a reason why I put it down, and I even sourced Sky Sports after that. So, I mean, he said that, and I think it was pre-race though. I don't know if that was post. It might have been pre-race.
That's
When you're
wild.
racing at a McLaren circuit, blah 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 type deal.
You cannot say that as a Ferrari driver.
He's not a Ferrari driver anymore.
Oh, that's true. He's
He
not.
can
That's
say
true,
whatever
though.
he
That's
wants.
true.
I didn't
He's,
think of
he's
that.
going out like Vettel went out.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's Kimi and Vettel in their last
100%.
years.
Not Kimi. I mean, Kimi just didn't say anything.
Well, that's
Vettel was a
true.
little salty.
Just to stay on Carlos, at some point in the race, I think it was actually earlier than I thought, but Carlos did come on the comms and was saying like, these McLaren cars are fast.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He was talking about Oscar.
Yeah, he was talking about
He was talking about
yeah,
Oscar
yeah.
specifically. Yeah.
It's tough to see how well he started off the year to where he's performing and like competing at this stage of the year.
Who are you talking about, Carlos?
Carlos.
Yeah.
It's tough to see that. So like
Surprising.
every week instead of Leclerc, I've been putting Carlos because I'm like, he's gonna have a comeback. He's gonna have a comeback. I keep putting him on my podium. He's gonna have his comeback week, and it never happens.
Do you think the strategies are extremely different between Leclerc and Carlos, or not so
I
much?
think
I don't know.
like,
I'm not a McLaren fan.
Ferrari-
I'm sorry, a Ferrari fan. So I'm not going super in depth on it. But do you think they're running different strategies?
Ferrari seems to kind of, based on the race, at least watching it, they kind of base it on who's the better driver that race. I mean, every time it's
Which
like
is probably
we're
how
gonna-
you should do it.
We're gonna
but-
favor it this way. This guy's gonna pit first. This guy's gonna like they favor it based on the better driver. So I don't think it's based on that. I think Leclerc's just been racing better recently.
Sure. I mean, fair enough. Can Carlos beat out Leclerc this weekend, you think, in Monaco?
Let's talk about that when we get to
I don't
Monaco,
think so.
maybe.
We can. Yeah, 100%. Good
I have
call.
some
That's
stuff
what
to
we
say.
That's what we should be. Okay. Well, we're wait then. He's got some stuff to say. Merck finishing 6 and 7.
Did I say 8 and 9 or 7 8?
For what,
what?
Mark?
Yeah.
In last.
I think
Yeah.
I said 7 and 8 as well earlier.
Okay.
So no, they did finish 6 and
Yeah.
7. Obviously in front of Checo, which might have been because of strategy. Who knows?
I put one of them outside of the 10th. That was
Yeah.
wrong. My bad.
And George with the fastest lap.
Yeah. They definitely they meant to do that. They put him into the pits just to get that.
Just to get-
fast
no,
lap,
for
'cause
sure.
He had the time to do
And
it.
how many points you get again for fast lap?
It's
I know I've asked that
1
before. It is
So
one
it's
point.
interesting. We were talking about this. The commentators are talking about this. He was ahead of Hamilton, and he
Yes.
finished behind Hamilton
Yes.
because he went to get that fastest. What is the point difference between 6th and 7th? It's not a single point, is it? 2 points. So he lost out on a point. Grand scheme of things, he's still ahead of Hamilton. Probably not the biggest deal, but I know he was talking about it on the radio for at least a little bit.
100% he was. And I thought, did he straight up ask if Lewis would give him his spot back? And they pretty much said no.
Ooh,
I
you
could have
know,
sure I saw that, but I could completely
I
be
was
wrong in making
I was
that ish
watching
up,
the
but-
race with someone. I can't remember. I know it was brought up. I can't remember if it was brought up by the person.
Or did
I
the
was watching with,
commentators
or
just
the
bring it up?
commentator said
But
it. Yeah.
no, it was definitely something on the TV.
Yeah.
Like somebody
Okay.
brought that up, and I don't know if it was comms or the commentators, but I could have
Okay.
sworn that George did ask ask him like, if I get back out or if I box, will Hamilton give me my spot back? And I'm pretty sure they said no, and then they said box for George to get that fastest lap. But
Interesting.
that is interesting. So is that just like a little bit of, if it's true, right? If it's true, is that just a loyalty thing to Lewis?
I don't
You know,
it's-
for
it's
Mercedes,
sixth
just,
place.
you know.
No, it's 6th
Again,
place.
it's not like it matters that much. though.
But I think if Russell was a faster driver that day, so they're like, let's get the tires on you to get the extra point for the team, not just for your.
it's
but
just all
Hamil-
part of the thing.
I think it's part of the team.
part of
At
the
the end
whole
of the day,
big
they
idea,
the
big
team
picture.
one more
Yeah.
point.
I would
Sure.
agree with y'all, but Hamilton could have done the exact same thing.
He wasn't faster than Russell. That's probably what they're looking at.
But on like softs, he could have done it. I think, right?
Yeah,
If
Sauce
he
is going to get
pushed
you
it,
the.
probably.
I agree.
push
I
that.
definitely agree with you. He's not faster than Russell on this track, but he had the time. I mean, what Perez was almost a minute to. Oh wait, is that 2 liter?
That's
Yeah.
2 liter.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
okay.
2 liter. I can do it
Hamilton
the other
had
way,
the
but-
time though. I think. Did he have the time? Maybe I'm wrong. I thought he had the time to make it, or maybe if he did it, he would have to fight Perez. But I guess I assumed he might be able to get. Past
Well, and
Perez.
I guess that's a thought too.
Yeah.
But
So I might just be talking.
Obviously, we'll jump into this here soon.
that's
but
all we're doing, buddy.
Yeah,
We'll jump into this here soon, but I mean, the Aston Martin's there. That's kind of who they're fighting with right now is the Aston Martin.
Yeah.
So every point kind of matters when you're fighting at the 6th to 10th spot. Every point really matters. So I think if you're fighting for the constructors, you don't want to go out in 5th. You take that one for the team. I mean, you're not going to podium Russell. Go take one for the
Right.
team, get a point, and
Right.
call it what it is.
Well, and after the race, he did say he doesn't feel. I can't remember what he actually said. I literally just read it, but he didn't feel like any sort of type of way about it or whatever. He's just going to move on from it. But like in the moment, for sure, I think he was a little bit. He was just curious what they would do. I think he was. I don't know if he was just testing them and it's just all a game or whatever. But he said he wasn't.
It's definitely a question to be asked if you're put in that position.
I think so. Why not? Yeah. Why not?
Because if Lewis would have given him the spot back, the team still gets the same amount of points. Russell just gets one more.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Right.
team gets one more, right?
No, because they're going to finish.
They're
the
still going to
same.
finish
Oh,
the
you're
same
right.
points
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, it's been a long day.
I think we're all on that boat, but
Actually, I think Russell would have got 2 more points. Yeah, because he would have finished 2 spots. He would have got the 2 points and then the fastest lap. So
No,
he would've-
because
three.
like you said, they finished in the same position, so it's just
no, but Russell would have got 2 more.
3.
No, because he got the fastest lap
Oh,
point
I see what
anyway.
you're saying.
Because he would have finished in the spot ahead, would have given him 2 more points. The team would have got the same amount of points, but Russell would have gotten 2 more points.
I know
Oh,
we have,
Russell. I was talking about the. Yeah, you're right.
I know we have a lot of overseas listeners. This is American public schools here.
I was just about to say this is only 2s and 3s, and I'm like, this is too much for me, bro. I'm out. Let's talk about that Aston real quick. Alonso pretty much starting from the pits, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yes.
He did changes.
And then he just had troubles all day, and then
troubles
they
all weekend.
and then
Yeah.
they pulled him out of the race with like 5 left or 10 left or something. I could have sworn they just took him off the track and retired the car. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, no, you're right. Oh wait, no, that was Albon.
I mean,
that was Albon. Yeah, you're right. Who also had issues,
But
but
Alonso, like, he did not do well in the race. Unfortunately, he did not catch up.
He was just 1 lap down though, so it wasn't a DNF.
is it just car issues right now? Because they haven't been as consistent lately, or at least Alonso for sure hasn't been as consistent lately. And we saw Stroll in points.
yeah, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then.
I mean, pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, though, Stroll had a good race. Like he was actually overtaking.
He was up there
yeah.
pretty much a majority of the race, I would say, in points. I don't know. I think I'm just like so blinded by the hate on Stroll that it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it is
You're
cool to
right.
see him get a couple points though.
Here, you want to play a fun game?
What is that?
How many more times is he in points the rest of the year? Over under is 2.
Over unders too?
Yeah.
I would
I'll take
say
the
over
over
as
on
well.
that.
For the. Oh yeah, over. I think he's gonna get points. A few
A lot
more
of season
times.
left.
I don't think we're gonna see a lot more races where he outscores Alonso, but I think he could fit in 9th. or
He will
10th.
not be
I'm a
outscoring
betting
Alonso
man.
most races.
I'll take the odds and go the under if you guys are all going the over for
under
2.
on
I'd say a
under,
I'd take
more
that.
accurate number would be 3.5.
under on the 2.
That'd be a
The
debate.
half
to be
is when
had.
he crashes his car and half of the car gets over the finish line.
No, then it's either 3 or 4.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's not really much else to say about them. I mean, we could maybe mention them, when we get to Monaco, mention the same team, see what we're thinking, but I don't know what they got. They got to have some upgrades coming. You would hope.
Hopefully.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Everybody else is upgrading, driving away from them now.
You got the right guy in the car. Obviously, he had a bad week, but you got the right guy in the car to put upgrades and let him win.
Yep.
You do.
Especially in Monaco.
But
Yeah.
it was weird to see both Mercedes finishing. Obviously, Alonso had a bad race, but both Mercedes finishing in front of
Yes.
Aston's this week. So, real quick, V-Carb, Yuki. Right before we came on, we were just talking consistency with Yuki. It's not even about the amount, but the dude is obviously showing that he's consistent enough to be in points almost every week right now. Not can't say that about Danny Rick, but
Perez, keep racing like that.
he's got to.
No, I'm saying Perez, keep racing like that. You got Yuki, who's a young gun coming up. They haven't filled that spot yet.
No way. Not happening. But I think he absolutely will be in V-Carb again, and they're going to keep him around at this point for sure.
Yeah,
I don't think he has a shot at that Red Bull seat, but that'd be wild.
I think Checo has that spot next year. They sign Yuki to another deal. Let him have one more year. Checo doesn't come back to Red Bull in 2025.
And if Yuki's
and then
consistent
Yuki.
again, why not? Why not?
Especially if
give
they're
him
going to
the
keep
opportunity?
putting effort into that V-carb.
I don't mind that
And
idea.
they did the simulator, and I think they had the 4th or 5th fastest car this weekend. The
Qualifying
race-
showed that. I mean,
Yeah.
qualifying, they were both top 10. I was really hopeful Danny Rick would get some points this week.
Yeah.
I'm always going to like him. I'm kind of giving up on Danny Rick. I can't lie. I've always liked him. I'd like to see him in a seat next year, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, what seat?
I don't think it'll be V-Carb.
You know what's
No.
bumming, though? I feel like we're not seeing as much communication, whatever you call it on the side there, the communication basically with Yuki. He's always fun to see communication. He's always fired up.
Yeah.
He's always fired up.
He's a good clickbait. It's a good soundbite too. You know, so it's like, give us what we want.
Yeah.
But it's
Give
also
us some more Yuki.
It's all just asterisks on the.
Yeah, 100%. Real quick before we wrap the recap on Imola. Williams, Albon, dude, that is a string of bad luck, I would say. I think the dude actually continues to show that he still has skill, but just the state of Williams right now in general, I think you put this down, Joe, that Williams is in shambles a little bit.
Yeah, you have one driver that can't drive and the other driver's getting screwed by his team. It sucks, right? It's a bad position to be in. They're struggling on and off track, and that's not good. That's not how you get points, and they haven't. So yeah.
Would you rather be in a Haas right now?
No,
100%.
yeah, 100%.
Okay, I thought you were about to say no.
I had to register what you were saying.
I know. Usually, we're programmed to just assume absolutely not. No, we don't want to be in a Haas. But now,
100%.
That narrative is changing.
Haas has obviously fixed their off-track issues. If you asked me 3 or 4 years ago, we saw they literally couldn't put wheels on a car for an entire race. Versus now, they haven't had really any pit issues. I don't think it's all been on track for the most part.
Do you think it's a hurt to the Williams? Obviously, it started last year, but do you think it's a hurt to the Williams for their president to be is it the president? Yeah, the president to be the engineer and not just because the Williams,
James Vowles, he's the principal and the
chief engineer. Is he really?
I don't think he's the chief engineer.
No, but principal. I was saying president. It's principal.
Principal.
He's a principal. He's an engineer. He's the only one that's really an engineer. I feel like that position is more dedicated to somebody who can lead and can build a team.
Well, but he proved himself at Mercedes. He was
also say
Toto's right-hand man at Mercedes. So he was he was in the engineering realm, but he was he developed kind of out of that into that leadership role to be kind of Toto's right hand.
I just feel like it's a different ball game right now, with this, especially with this type of team you're going into. And I think because he was Toto's right-hand man, that's why he gets this spot. I just don't know if it's the right spot for him.
That's fair.
Fair.
Why not follow the legacy of a Newey or something like that? Why try to be a Wolf? Why try to be a Toto? You're never going to be a Toto.
Well, maybe you want that right there, money, dude, and why you don't want that challenge? You're at the top of your game as an engineer, not Newey, right? But you're at the top of your game, your personal game, and you don't want that next challenge that maybe is team principal and running the show.
So as far as the Drive to Survive and the episodes and all that, I kind of loved the president or the principal.
That's fair.
Team principal.
We know what you're saying.
The principal, I kind of loved him through that. And just everything he was talking about and everything, I thought he was a pretty awesome guy. And I thought he honestly, I was bought in. I was I'm going to hammer the over all year on Williams because of just how he talked and his demeanor and everything. But it's just not paying off as much as it should this year, especially when you have somebody like Albon in the car. I feel like they should be more designed and just everything around the car should be better because of the mindset that he thinks.
The one thing with Williams though that kills them is they manufacture their own parts.
Yeah.
So if they need a new part, they have to, and they don't have the money.
Yeah, they don't have
So
money.
if they need a new part, they have to go and build it. You know what they're also engine they're running? A Mercedes engine.
Right.
Yeah, but so is
Mercedes. Aston.
Yeah, but there's still a huge gap. It's more than just the engine, but it's still you can make an argument the worst power unit on the market right now. So you're already kind of behind the Honda, the Ferrari, and I guess Alpine still is using.
So what's that say for McLaren then? They're also Mercedes.
McLaren's Mercedes?
They are indeed.
Yeah, that's
wow.
what I was thinking.
Yep.
McLaren's Mercedes. So
I didn't know that. I thought they were at a Ferrari engine.
Nope. Yeah, they're
do you
McLaren.
think
Or
that
Mercedes.
do you think this principle has a short shelf life though? Being at Williams.
No,
Not
I
at
don't think so.
Williams.
He's got a little bit of a disadvantage. How long has he been principal?
This is
Last year was his
year.
first year.
Last year was his first
Yeah.
year?
Yeah.
Nah, you got to give him a little bit more time than that, I would think. If it's the same stuff next year, but then new regs.
But it's like
I
every
think-
maybe they're building for that car. Maybe they're building for the new regulations and everything with this guy behind the helm being the engineer background. But at the same time, it's every time you watch Drive to Survive or anything about Williams, we want to get back to that car that was winning. We want to get back to this car.
Well, they have an amazing history, right? They got a really
Yes.
long history, and they do, of course they want to get back to that.
They're like the Steelers. Let's throw him back. I mean, we're happy.
Well,
right
yeah, we
now.
also got to look at it this way. The last time that Ferrari won a WDC wasn't too far ahead of Williams.
But they're still winning races at least and competing for the top podiums, right?
Yeah.
With that, real quick to wrap Williams, what is the best move for Albon? Is it
Well,
worth?
it's already been decided.
Oh, that's right.
It's our first news.
That's right. That's right.
And
I don't know if it's the best
that's a
move,
good
but-
segment.
With
Or good
that, that's
transition.
right. Duh. With that, let's head into news, Kev. So back at it with the news. Obviously, I started going into other stuff. That's how the mind goes. You know what I mean? But with that, for some reason, I forgot that Albon had already signed a multi-year contract with Williams. Is it 3? I thought I saw that it was 3. Is that true?
They just
or
said
not?
multi. I don't think they said.
Could have
how many
sworn I
years. It
said
could
I
be
saw
3 though.
3, but
it's
like,
definitely going to carry him into 2026 at least.
and that's the part that's interesting to me. And maybe that's like what Cole was saying. Maybe that's kind of what they're waiting on, and maybe focusing more on the new regs. But I
can't get behind that.
I don't either, because I think that's bad business, dude.
I don't
You
think they
have to-
even can at the moment because they don't know what the regs are. Right?
Oh, true.
Well,
Right?
they have a good idea. They've released a lot of them because you have
Okay,
to
that's
allow
fair.
the teams to build their engines. You got to get more in a
Oh,
year.
sure, that's fair.
Okay.
But it's but you're limited in terms of like sim hours.
Mhm.
Obviously, wind tunnel comes into play too. But it's you in the position when you're consistently 7th and the highest from 8th through 10th. Like, you can't put your money into next year's car because you have to get that next step to get money for next year's car.
And how do
Like that.
and how does that work? Explain to some of the newbies or whatever about finishing really quick in constructors and the money you get and blah blah blah.
So there's a huge difference between where you place in the overall like team constructors championship. The dollar amounts, I think they change on a year-to-year basis based off
Probably, yeah,
revenue,
probably.
profits, all that fun stuff. But so like for the difference between finishing 7th and 10th, which is only 3-4 spots in the actual thing, is millions upon millions upon millions of dollars that you're bringing in from the actual F1. Right. So it's like you are super strapped in terms of the money you can have when you're a team like a Williams, an Alpine, Haas, where you don't have those powerhouse of like the Red Bull, the Mercedes, the Ferrari behind you. They have unlimited money. That's not the same for those lower teams, especially a team like Williams, who manufactures their own parts in their factory. So like they build everything there. They need as much money as they can to keep that production going. We saw that when Albon messed up his car, and then Logan had to give up his car to Albon go in. Like, they didn't have an extra chassis with them because they didn't have an extra chassis.
Right. And
that doesn't happen on any other team.
And you explain that perfectly, because that's exactly why it matters. You got new F1 fans that came in during the Lewis domination or the Max domination right now that are new to the sport, that are just like, so basically outside of the podium, it doesn't matter. No. It does matter 100%. So I already had a feeling that you would just explain it perfectly. So that's why I wanted you to just run with it. So I think that's perfect for anybody new to it, that now knows why it matters so much.
This is like the only sport, if you will, where you can root for 3 different teams, because you have the people fighting at the top, the
There's
people
different
fighting
tiers.
at the mid, and the people fighting at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I remember I was talking to my brother about this, and I was like, well, what's so, like, we were kind of chatting about it, like, why is so interesting? Like, and he was like, who do you watch? And I listed off a couple teams. Like, I like Haas down low. And I was just listing off teams. And I was like, because there's so many different categories that you're fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all based around money and everything like this. And like, this could be a really freaking big year for Haas.
It could
Seriously,
be huge.
yeah,
They
seriously.
haven't finished this high since their first season in F1.
And
It's just unfortunate for them that Yuki's doing what he's doing for VCAR.
Yeah,
but-
true.
yeah, for sure.
But like, it's like the coolest thing that out of the teams, the 10 teams, there's so much variety you can root for. Like, you don't have to have a favorite team. You can have a favorite driver, like all these things, but like,
Well,
there's so
it
many.
depends on who you ask. You go ask some of these diehards that, at some of these
As an
tracks around the
American.
world, they're going to, we're American
yeah, the
hypocrites.
tracks.
So
yeah.
obviously we like multiple teams.
Yeah, the Tifosi, the Papaya Army, the Dutch.
But like, if you like, so like the best reference we could always make is football. Banter the boys, there's tons of football talk, right? So there's
This
like,
is true.
if there's a team that's
Check it out.
trash, you're not rooting for your team to win the Super Bowl and then also rooting for this team to get the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, right.
Right,
Like, if
true.
anything, you have like an AFC and an NFC team, but even that, it's like
That's
you
weird,
don't
though.
you don't want them to play each other in the Super Bowl.
And that's so weird. Like
And
nobody,
it is. It
nobody
is.
does that. You have one diehard team. That's every sport out here. So like it's kind of cool where you can kind of be like, okay, Haas will never beat Red Bull, but I can still root for Haas and not be a traitor to like my favorite team.
Which is definitely not Red Bull for you. That could have been a meme. Darn it. But yeah, I mean, Alex Albon, I think it's probably a good move for him. Might as well see what happens. How old is he? He's got to be like 27, 28. I think
He's the same age as George.
Gasly,
I don't know.
right?
Like 26.
Yeah, I think he's
26
like,
-ish.
Please.
I think he's mid to
Oh
late.
wait, no,
20s.
he might be.
I think it
He might be 25 actually, because he's
just
Lando's
because
24.
of new regs, right?
He's 28.
Only because
he's
of
Max's
that.
age.
Oh,
And the
That's right, because him, Charles, and Max carded.
oh, for sure.
And the reason why I say that because of the new regs is just like it's just a new playing field for everybody. So I'm just curious, like, is Williams gonna figure it out by then? And maybe he likes being there enough that it's worth it to him. But then he signs the multi-year deal, and then this weekend happens, and it's like it's just the same stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's got to be frustrating. But
Do you think he really wants to be at Williams and build Williams up like he has in 2 years? Or is it
No.
just that he doesn't, or maybe he just hasn't gotten anyone talk to him
I
on
think
other teams?
I think he's locking down a stepping stone.
Yeah.
100% to get to a better team, but he's got to show it.
Man, I feel like the last 2 years, that's what he's been doing, and it just hasn't paid off. And largely, that's Williams' fault. I don't think that's his fault.
But
I think he's a decent driver.
Are you going to go parallel, though? I think that's the biggest kicker. Like a lot of these teams that probably offered him, he's going parallel with a move. He's comfortable in a car. He can perform. He's shown he can perform in this car. He's comfortable in the car. Why leave when you can be in the same parallel car and compete with those other guys in the other cars instead of jumping ship and having to like basically relearn a car almost?
I think that's an extremely good point.
I think the biggest thing that's hurting him is there's not a spot on those big teams open that who are you going to take? Sainz or Albon?
You're
You're taking Sainz.
Carlos all
neither.
day.
Yeah.
You're taking neither of them because there's no spots open.
Well, yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Trick
There's
question.
no spots
It was a trick
open.
question.
That was a wild
You got
question.
us. You got us. That's funny.
Well, I still think Carlos has a shot at that Red Bull seat. They didn't sign Checo yet.
I think
They
they're
can't
probably
afford
going to. I think Sainz is going to go to.
You think so? They can't afford it. Well, I mean,
Horner came out and said it. Or who is it? It was Marco? Who came
that
out?
they
Marco.
can't
It was
match.
Marco, yeah.
well,
They can't match Audi's offer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Sainz is all but in that Audi seat next year
And the only thing that Mercedes is offering him is a 1-year deal.
because they're keeping that spot open for Max and Kimi.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Max and Kimi.
So
Oh my
funny.
God, we're gonna lock that one
Yeah,
up
it's
and
crazy.
keep that ready to go for another time with Max to Merc. But
But yeah, I mean, in terms of like on the Albon aspect of it, what better opportunity does he have? At the end of the day, he doesn't, right? You have to keep your
like
spot
Cole's
on the
saying,
grid.
it'd be a parallel move.
Yeah, you have to keep your spot on the grid. If you got a
And
team
that's
that's
what it
offering
is to
you
me,
a multi-year
locking that
deal
down. Yeah.
worth millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, you're securing your
To stay in
financial
F1.
and you're still doing what you love, what
Yeah.
you'd think they'd love at this
You'd
point. You know,
think.
I don't know if Max does, but
Yeah.
I think to Max it's just a job. That
Well,
he
you're so good at
excels
it.
at.
Yeah, right. And staying with Williams, that second seat's obviously open right now because Sargent's not coming back.
Still a chance. I don't know.
Whoa,
So I
whoa.
got some news on this. I heard and I sent some of these to Tyler. I have these wild news things that I follow in F1, and a lot of these have came true
On the
based on the
dark web,
previous
F1 dark web.
yeah, based on the previous predictions I put out. A lot of these have came true, right?
True.
So
That's fact.
there's news that recently they have put in a bid to get rid of Sargent, and they have put in the bid or whatever to get Kimi his super license.
Whoa.
But it's going to take a couple weeks, so it wouldn't be until 3 or 4 weeks where he'd be able to get a super license. But apparently,
Kimi Antonelli.
Antonelli,
Like officially,
Yeah, let's not
like,
confuse this with Kimi Räikkönen.
like
Oh, yeah,
officially,
Kimi Antonelli.
like officially has put in that bid
Yeah.
request, whatever it may be,
for Kimi Antonelli to take over for Sargent this year,
this season.
this season.
It's probably not going to get granted because he's 17. That's the huge thing right
But
now.
didn't we talk about that where it did get granted for Max or did not?
They changed
It was
it
a
after
different.
he-
Yeah,
Oh, they changed
yeah,
it
was-
after him. Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah, but
interesting.
money changes everybody's minds, and realistically,
And
like
he's the next
obviously-
best thing,
But
right?
who's paying him? It ain't Williams. Williams isn't forking over
I
that
think we know
money.
who it is. Yeah.
It's Mercedes.
It's Mercedes.
But like another kicker
Is that
too.
worth it to them to get him going earlier in the
See what you got.
in the
get,
wheel?
him in an F1 car, you know?
So look at it from let's look at it
a
from
crappy F1 car,
like,
but
a broad F1.
But you're
broad,
right.
A broad F1 look, right? If you're looking at it from F1
overview.
the Sargent leaving F1 is good for F1 because right now he's kind of a laughing stock of
that's
F1.
rough.
Bringing in a new young gun mid-season, that's a fun, exciting play. If you're trying to build faces in America, do young, exciting plays like this.
Let's look at last year. DeVries was not working out. They brought in Danny Rick. All the media.
All of a sudden there was news and all this.
Boom.
Yeah, you're right.
What's a long-term goal of F1 really? Like if you're F1 as a platform or as like this huge industry, your goal is to go worldwide, and the start of that and the biggest money maker in that is a capitalistic America who's going to blow it up. You want to make money, you come to
we're getting
America.
an F1 race in Chicago.
You want to make money, you go to
I
America.
didn't hear that yet.
2026.
Really?
No, I hope that doesn't happen.
It's already been like accepted.
We have too many races here.
Yeah, it's
That is
hey,
that
it's
is
closer
weird.
and
I
cheaper
don't
for us
like
to go to
that. That
Vegas,
is
baby.
weird.
But like as far as like the money mecca to throw money behind sports and buy gear and everything, it's America.
That's a super good
All the
point.
time it's America, right? So Sargent only hurts
merchandise. I would agree with that. I
Yeah.
think the UAE would counter that with all the money they put into
Yeah,
some
okay.
sports.
Yeah,
So
for
but
sure.
like if
Good
you're
call.
looking at it from that perspective with Sargent, I mean, he's just hurting American stock right now because everybody's like, if you're an American fan, you want to root for somebody who can do something in a car. And right now
100%.
it sucks to root for somebody who's American. Finally, we get an American on the grid and he's not performing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's tough to watch. He's out of every race. He wrecks. Somebody else is taking his spot, you know, because
Yeah.
his car broke and now he gets his car. It's, you know, if you're an
It's the
American,
ultimate slap in the face.
but if you're an
Right.
American
No
fan,
doubt.
like you don't watch the Olympics to root for other countries. You watch to root for your country. But if your country loses every event, you're not tuning in.
Yeah. No, I mean it's a good point. I don't know
Very
if
good point.
Kimmy would grow it in America per se.
He grow it as
As a whole, though, like as
a whole.
F1, give it new life as a mid-season jolt. I do like
Yes.
that idea 100%.
It doesn't hurt the like. It's not that it hurts America, like the American viewership. It's not that it jumps like a huge surge of people wanting to watch from America. But right now, I think Sargent is hurting the American viewership for people that want to watch it and root for an
That's
American.
fair. That's fair. And I want
At
to
least
move
we
on.
got Haas.
Yeah. Woo. Hey, but I mean,
They were-
better this season.
Until they went Russian for a second.
No.
there.
That was a dark time.
But God dang it. Now that threw me off. Where was I gonna go with that? Okay. If you bring in Kimmy and that gets accepted and all that, could it hurt his career in any way possible? The fact that you're throwing him into a Williams car that's not amazing right now.
No, I honestly don't think so, because I think there's no better opportunity for a young cat to start than in one of those lower cars, right?
And I mean, if that's as worse as it's going to get right now, then it's only looking up from there.
you also see what you got.
Right.
Before you commit to a year in a Mercedes, you see what you got in a Williams, see if he can handle the pressure, see if he can control an F1 car. Now, obviously, he's done tests. There's there's more ways to look at it than getting in live racing, but that's the best bet.
And
Can he overtake in an F1 car? Can he defend in an F1 car? It doesn't matter the car at the end of the day when you're gauging just to see how he performs and what he has.
And it's it's the same pace or the same route that Russell took.
100%.
Well, and
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and-
100%.
And that's what we keep talking
Bottas
about
too.
with
Mhm.
with the drivers and just their skill in general. Like every week, one of us mentions Verstappen's skill. That's what this is testing. It's testing his skill at the F1 level in a bad car. And then if he does well, then he probably is in that Merc seat next year. Then they don't have to worry about it.
I don't think they can afford to put a rookie a rookie who's skipped levels, albeit he's really good. I don't know if they can afford to put him in a car that high up, right? I think he's got to
smart.
Taking a shot.
I think he's got to, like you said, we saw Bottas to Merc and then we saw Russell to Merc. I think Lando's the only one I can think of that is like gotten McLaren and stayed in McLaren. But even Verstappen, he started at I think it wasn't called AlphaTauri, it was
Toro
whatever
Rosso.
before. Yeah, Toro Rosso. He started at Toro Rosso before going into Red Bull.
But Red Bull, you got to look at a little bit differently because it's their junior seat, right? Look at Albon winning the Toro Rosso, went to
Yeah.
that Red Bull spot.
But the Toro Rosso still wasn't doing as good as the Red Bull, right?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
100%. But it's like, It's
I
different with the
see-
development of Red Bull drivers
Sure.
though, because it's that junior pro.
Yeah, sure. I see Alfa Romeo into Charles Leclerc, another one, Alfa Romeo into Ferrari. I just see, even if they're not technically sister teams, they're definitely development teams.
Oh, they're 100%. They're essentially the junior teams without being branded by Mercedes and Ferrari.
100%.
So with that, real quick, that kind of makes this next part a little bit interesting now with the rumors of Bottas maybe wiggling his way into Williams for next season. Now, obviously, if Kimi does well and then goes into the Merc seat, and then Bottas, maybe he does go to Williams. But if that doesn't happen and Kimi stays at Williams another year, or do you think that's not even a possibility? Then maybe Bottas is out of a job, but I think somebody would pick him up.
I don't think Kimi would be in a Williams next year. I think he would be. It's like if he's not in.
If he comes into a Williams this year, he's in Merc next year, or
he's
out of F1.
Or he's in. Oh, interesting.
Or he's out of F1.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just because it's. I mean, when you're talking about a Merc spot, it's a Merc spot, right? It's a prime spot. It's one of 3 prime spots that historically, or not historically, but over the course
Before
of the
new
last
regs
20
at
years.
the moment, 100%.
Yeah, over the
Still,
course
it's
of the
still a
last-
spot you want to be in.
Yeah, so it's just like you can't just take a chance. And at the end of the day, it also goes to like who's available. I'm really surprised that Merc is not throwing a lot more at science.
But
think
it's
Kimi.
because of the
I
plan
think
of
it's
Kimi.
only
It's
because of
because of the plan of Kimi. That's the only reason.
And I have another thing about Science real quick. I heard that Audi is like the top landing spot for Science.
Yeah, they
And
had
I-
an offer out to him.
But I heard that the 26th of this month, Monaco, is the deciding factor where he has to make a decision on
Audi?
Really?
But they look elsewhere.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I think that's 100% fair.
Imagine tomorrow we find out that Carlos is on.
That's how it's going to happen.
It's gonna
dude.
happen.
Every
The
time we
day
get done
after we
recording
record
something,
these,
news
yeah.
happens the next day.
I think that was
mad at
legit
that.
what happened with the Albon extension.
It was,
Seriously.
yeah,
It was the next day.
100%.
Seriously. Did we mention last episode at all about, real quick, the rumor about Zhou?
Joe?
Maybe Zhou. Sorry, that's what it was. Damn it. Zhou going to that second Haas seat at all?
Oh,
Has
we brought it
anybody
up
heard-
last week.
Did we bring it up? Okay. I haven't heard any too much
I haven't
more
had too much
traction.
more either.
But I
yeah.
thought I saw it like officially as a rumor, like on F1's
That
website.
dude does not
but
deserve a seat in F1.
Oh, that's right.
at all. None at all.
What has he done better than Sargent? Besides, what did he score? 1 or 2 points last year?
He doesn't crash as much as
I
Sargent.
would say
Doesn't
he's
crash as
better
much,
than
but he's not
Sargent, but
performing.
yeah.
It's
I
hard to
just found
perform,
it
but is it
interesting.
hard to perform in that stake seat? I mean, I don't think
it is.
I don't think it's been a
100%.
great car.
I mean, look at Bottas.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, look at the
And he's a
last time
great
Bottas
driver.
scored
Yeah.
points.
He's a
You know,
skilled
That's true.
I don't know. I think it's
That's
really
true.
hard to determine if it's him or if it's the car. I personally would like to see him at Haas, but I could also see them maybe wanting someone a little bit more. Well, he is kind of like the veteran at this point. It's his 3rd or 4th year driving, so he's
Yeah, I
not
think
a
it's his third.
veteran. But it's not a rookie, so he knows how to drive these tracks. He knows how to handle an F1 car. He's not going to be able to train Behrman in because we all know he's going to get the second seat.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
but
Right.
it's a safe option, probably. I think.
So who takes that?
Or do they
Haas?
keep K-Mag? I don't know.
And we're not even going to get into all that
Yeah.
right now because we could keep going on forever. And like that's another thing we could table for another time.
Sure.
When as an F1 team do you give up on a young driver? When is that time for you? And maybe it depends on where you are as a team at the time. Maybe you can afford to wait if you're a lower team, you know, to see if they develop. But I think that could be a topic for another time too. When do you move on? You know, real quick, last bit of news, unless anybody, Cole, do you have anything else from the dark web?
I got 2 quick ones.
Do actually?
Sprint races every race,
Let's do it.
maximum of 25. Dark
No.
web, baby, dark web, huh?
No.
I don't like that at all.
No.
It's because of the dominance of Red Bull. That's why it's been in discussion. Is sprint races every race.
Wait
Maximum
a couple
25
years
races.
before
Yeah.
we even think about
But
that.
the last
That's
thing I think we
garbage.
got to bring it up: the McLaren livery.
Oh,
I know, yeah, 100%.
Santa
That was the
livery
last
is so
thing,
good.
100%.
Okay, yeah.
That McLaren livery looks good. Other than the
Oh,
freaking,
it looks so clean.
and I know,
man.
like we talked about it before, the chrome wheels have to be on there. I get it. I hate that garbage because with the regular orange livery looks great. Honestly, it doesn't look that bad. But with the Senna thing,
I hate those wheels.
just one
dude.
race, homie.
I'm okay
one
with
race,
it.
take
I
that
think,
garbage
hey,
off.
As long as at least it's not the Ferrari completely blue wheels that we saw last race.
God,
that was
Ferrari was
not last race, but the race before. That was
That
awful.
car was so
It
ugly.
was so bad.
Clash City.
Yeah, this
Just
Senna,
like the chrome wheels on the Senna livery.
This Senna
but the
livery looks
livery
so
looks
good. So
freaking awesome. I mean,
It looks clean, man.
dude, it looks really good.
Yeah.
That'll be fun to see at Monaco. Like it's just fun. It's just fun. With that, let's just wrap the news and head right into our preview of Monaco. Let's just head right into the Monaco preview, of course. Big money Monaco, where your average annual income, according to whatever worlddata.info, I have no idea if that's relevant or not, is $186,000 US a year. Yeah, whatever, a lot of money. Joe, geez, sorry.
Hi.
I was trying to figure out your name, staring at you. I was like, what is your name? Joe, do your thing, homie.
Yeah, Monaco. I do know that fact as well. It helps that they're such a small, such a small entity that not a lot of people, when they're really rich, it's going to boost them up a bit.
For sure.
It's funny. We were talking a little bit beforehand, and I think most of us are of the same mind. Happy to have a conversation, but we all kind of, I should say, we all. Tyler and I were talking about it a little bit. We kind of think it's a little bit boring. Last year was a little hectic, but overall, I've definitely had a race or two at Monaco where I've fallen asleep. Maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's such a boring race. It's historic. It's the pinnacle, whatever you want to call it. But it's like, there's one place to pass. You don't see it because you can't get that DRS activated in time coming in through that last
No
little
doubt.
bit. It's just it's all qualifying.
Yeah,
So it's not.
It is all
just,
qualifying.
It's just time trials, man.
Yep.
The start is cool, and if we can get J-Lo on the big screen, I like that.
Word.
Other than that, I'm Gucci. I'll just chill back.
boy.
Hang out.
It is a glorified time trial. That is what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I know for me anyway, again, suck at it, but playing the video game, like Monaco is intense, dude.
So bad at
for my
Monaco.
first couple laps, and then I'm out of the race because I hit a wall anyway, and my wheels go flying off and whatever. But like as far as like fun, at least in the game anyway, I love that track. I wish I could race it better. And then you add in another 19 cars, pure carnage from me. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, dude, that track just.
But as far as
dominates me.
like boring, like just seeing the skill of the drivers is dope. But that's it, dude. That's all you get.
You get that in qualifying. I don't
You
need,
might see
I
some-
don't need what 70 laps of it.
Maybe yeah.
a long race.
Maybe you'll sneak a peek on a yacht or something. Something's going on. Who knows? Party's going on. You never know.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's it, man. But Joe, sorry, go for it.
No. It's good. I wasn't expecting to have a ton of talk about, but it was actually pretty crazy last year. So we'll just jump into it. Monaco, the Formula One Grand Prix de Monaco, 2024 is the official name. I'm going to start doing that every single recap. I'm going to say the official name because we got some crazy ones. Some fun facts to start off. Monaco is one of the 7 venues on the inaugural F1 World Championship calendar back in 1950. Now the track actually goes back further than that, but like it was like private F1 races. The actual like World Championship, this is one of the 7 that was that year.
Do you know, has it always been the same track? Like the same configuration?
It for the most part it has been. There have been a few changes here and there.
Sure,
like
sure.
if you look back and forth, like I think we've seen videos of like if you were to take away all the barriers or like go like back in time, it's pretty much the same. I think they've changed a few things here or there, but
Sure.
like I don't like that huge curve out of the tunnel. I don't know if that was originally there. I could
I don't
be
think
very
there was
wrong.
that chicane at that turn. I think that was just a straight shot back in the day.
Yeah, I think so too. So that's I think that's probably one of the biggest changes.
Should have left that puppy in.
Yeah. Other than the race, it's a glitz and glam circuit, like you kind of said. Unfortunately, it can drag on a little bit during the race with how narrow the track is, limited with overtaking. So yeah, we've already said all this. Quality is all the more important. Last year was the year where we saw Checo actually crash in qualifying. The year before that, Checo crashed in qualifying and ruined Verstappen's qualifying, and we had a little bit of drama there.
Is that when Leclerc got pole and then on the outlap, the formation lap, his engine
This
cut?
was
Is that 2 years
was
ago?
That? No, I think it actually was.
I think that
that
is
was
the
2
same
years
race.
ago.
I think that is the
You're
same
right.
race, dude.
Yeah, because last year he didn't get pole. That was Verstappen, but the 2 years before that he did get.
Because that was when Perez did it, and then like Cyans ended up like almost hitting him and got sideways, so they had to red flag it. And
Yes.
then okay.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, and then I think Charles, he had an engine problem last year, and then the year before that, it started to rain, and they brought him into the pits, and I think they messed up his strategy altogether, or they pit him too early or too late or something like that. Yeah, so the start, Verstappen, Alonso, and Ocon. Sergio Perez, like I said, crashed. He started in 20th. Charles did receive a 3-place grid penalty because he impeded one of the McLaren drivers who both started 10th and 11th. And then both Alpines in the top 10. Very different. I don't think we're going to see that this weekend. But,
no way. Not a chance.
Hey, maybe.
Especially on a podium.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see that in about 25, 30 years.
No, that's that's really
25, 30 years.
2026? No, new regs?
Snap.
Maybe they get it together. Probably not, but we'll see. All right, jumping into the race. We see actually a clean turn 1, start of the race. The only trouble that we see in the first lap coming further down the grid with a Haas bumping into a Williams, causing a momentary yellow flag, and then cars almost completely parking at the hairpin. We still see Perez in last. I wrote this down. It's the slowest I've ever seen a Red Bull go before. Like he was almost like stopped at that hairpin. At the end of a first lap, Hülkenberg is up 4 places and Stroll is down 4 after taking some damage and a puncture. In lap 11, we saw Verstappen 3 seconds ahead of Alonso, who was almost 10 seconds ahead of Ocon, with Sainz fighting behind. Sainz looking to push Ocon to use his tires more to get a little too close. The same exact kind of corner where they went straight all those years ago. Sainz got a little bit too close, broke a little bit too late, ran right into the back of Ocon, got his wing stuck underneath Ocon's tire, had to go into the pits. Actually, no, he didn't go into the pits. Sorry, I should stick to my notes. He got wing damage, but it was only that end plate, and it didn't affect his race too much. So he raced the entire race on a damaged wing,
which is crazy to race Monaco on a damaged
last year
wing.
And the year before, I saw like through many races end plate wings getting damaged or coming off, and it not really affecting pace very much. I don't know if that's changed this year, but kind of something that I've noted and seen before.
I don't know anything about aerodynamics, but I feel like if something's supposed to be there, you probably want it.
Didn't that happen to Max this year in one of his wins?
I don't remember. I'm not sure. I don't think Max has had any crazy damage except the possible.
He's barely been
stuff.
close enough to people to damage his stuff.
Except of course of the brakes exploding in Australia. But
yeah.
That's right.
Lap 30, we actually see Verstappen starting to lap the bottom half of the grid. We start to see the start of pit stop windows. Ocon pits on lap 33 for a slow 4.2 seconds. Luckily, he was able to stay ahead by only 1 second ahead of Sainz. We hear Sainz state his displeasure to his engineers on strategy, and he's unable to make that gap back up to Ocon. Perez's day gets worse on lap 36 when he gets a bit too close to Magnussen and ruins his wing under the Haas's back tire, ruining his race further and forcing him into the pits for a wing change. This is when we start to see the rain begin to fall in lap 51. Cars are being affected by it, lake brakes, sliding off, losing the back end, but only in specific parts of the track. At the very start, I think it was raining like in the first half, and the bottom half was okay. This created a very interesting mixed condition scenario. We saw Alonso going for a new mediums instead of inters. At this point, we have about 5 cars that are on the inters, with more starting to feed into the pit lane for a change of tire. Sainz, unfortunately, was not one of those drivers. He did another lap on the dries. Didn't spin out, but definitely got sideways before the hairpin. Found his way into the runoff area and got a bit further. Lap 55 was a certified show, is what I have written here. Absolute carnage. The top 4 cars still on dries finally decided to go in for the inters, except that there's one problem. Both Ferraris fighting for position, each other. They need to double stack into the pits. Leclerc gets his tires first, and Sainz files in immediately after, losing another position to the other Alpine of Gasly. All the while, Alonso pits again for inters and able to retain his second place position. Stroll in lap 58, he started playing bumper cars into 3 different walls, breaking his wing before finally deciding to pull off into a runoff area and retire. Magnussen, the last driver on dries, runs into the wall right before the pit and is able to back up and find his way in. I believe he retires there. George is given a penalty on lap 60 for an unsafe rejoin when he backs out of a runoff area and right into Perez. We actually see George go up into the air. And then we see a couple small more bumps into walls and runoffs for the remaining laps of the 78-lap race. We finally find the finish line into a very hectic Monaco GP. Verstappen, Alonso, Ocon, Hamilton, and then Russell. Stroll and Magnussen, weirdly the only ones to retire that whole race, but it was a little crazy. I don't remember it being that crazy last year.
Me neither.
That was a lot. But I think when it rains in the middle of a race like that, that's got to just throw... Obviously, you have plan A through Z, right? Probably. But like that's just got to throw your whole strategy off.
Especially in Monaco.
I think the problem is that like you said before, 70 laps. It's a long race, right?
It is a long
So
race,
I think
yeah.
these like we have these little bubbles of kind of action happening, and then we just get a whole lot of nothing for a little bit. Like my notes start at 1, and the next note is like at lap 11.
And your
So-
your last bit of your notes were everybody bumping and hitting the wall. Like,
Yeah.
might as well be me out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is the worst track to race in the game.
It's so bad.
I remember
It's so hard.
It's so bad.
Dude, me and Tyler would play so much. We'd just be ripping around. And I'd be like, dude, I just ripped this time. You rip one lap with a good time, you're just ecstatic. Then you get into a race, you get a lap in, you're like, DNF, how you doing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Welcome to my party, buddy.
I've had one race win in Monaco, and it was when I was playing with the season with Kev Dog, and the difficulty's a lot lower than it should be. So I qualified P1.
Hey, but even
Pretty sure I
that,
lost
man.
my full wing.
even that, I'd feel
even in the
good.
race.
Did you box for a new wing, or did you run the damaged wing?
we just slowed down. You can't get past, so you just gotta slow down real good.
Gotta slow down real good.
Slow down real good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we'll see as much carnage or just excitement. I can't even believe I said carnage normally. That's weird. I don't like that. We'll change it up.
Gross,
We'll
dude.
change it up. We'll change it up.
We'll edit that out.
But like, I don't think. Yeah, we'll edit that. Just a blur of me go carnage. No, I don't think we'll see the Mercs finishing that high at all at Monaco this year. No way in heck. No way in
I
heck.
think McLaren.
I do think that we could see Ferrari act a little better here this week. And I think it's just because of how much of a challenge the track is as a whole. I don't think Ferrari's going to have any better of a car or anything like that. But I think Leclerc and Carlos are going to have a bit more experience with Monaco's unpredictability. As predictable as it may be, it still has a little bit of that unpredictability. And I like Charles and Carlos's experience over Lando and Oscar, again, even though it feels like Lando's been racing F1 forever now, he's racing at the top of his game right now. He's on his way up to the top of his game currently. I think Max still wins it, but I think it's going to be some battles between, as battly as we get, between McLaren and Ferrari this weekend. I don't know. And I do think Checo has a bounce back race this week.
I'd say Checo's top 5, but I don't see him grabbing a podium.
Really?
You do not see Checo on the podium. I haven't had Checo on the podium for a hot minute in our predictions, you know. I feel like just my gut is telling me that changes this weekend.
Nah, I don't think this race, man. It's just though it would be if it was last year with the car's performance of last year across the grid. I would say
Best car ever almost.
I would slot Checo into that second spot or at least third. This year with the way that McLaren is looking right now and the way that Charles can make a lap in this track, I don't see Checo getting in front of Lando or Charles.
I would agree. I don't think Checo's up there this week.
Like I said,
Yeah.
4 or 5. I could see him 4 or 5. I just don't see
That's
him grabbing
probably
a
what,
podium.
for sure.
I'm up in my mind right now. I'm like, obviously we're gonna do predictions here soon, but like in my mind, I'm kind of like, obviously I'm a throw Verstappen in the top 3, but I might be looking at both Ferraris this week. I don't know.
Honestly, that's where I'm going.
I don't know.
Before we even got into the
Yeah.
predictions, like that's where I'm going. Honestly, taking a risk, taking a chance. But again, it's just for me, it's the drivers this week. And it's not taking anything away from Lando or Oscar. And again, Oscar was running a great race last week, had a great quali. At Monaco specifically, I'm right there. I'm going for Verstappen and both Ferraris, and that's just a gut thing.
This is a white whale. This track's a white whale.
Kinda.
You know, I mean, there's so much that goes into it. I mean, last year it was domination all year from Verstappen, but to see Alonso and Ocon in the top 3, that's crazy. Like, is it?
weather
But it's just
conditions,
a
though.
wild. It is just a wild race too.
It's weather conditions.
Yeah, but
if the weather comes into play this weekend, is the only time I see you having a wild shake.
So what is the weather this weekend in Monaco?
I just checked. It is sunny on Sunday, and we have 50% chance of rain on Saturday.
Oops.
So Saturday's qualifying.
Huge, though.
That's like, I don't know
Not
when.
as much. It doesn't matter as much
Yeah.
in qualifying as it does race because of strategy, when to pit, when to throw on different tires. But with qualifying,
but
though,
that's
I mean,
interesting though. If it rains during quali though,
if it rains during quali, but everybody has a chance to get on the same tires and not be
Yeah,
penalized.
Yeah, but there's also that switch of like who's going to throw on what enters, who's going to throw on? Who's going to go out there with like a soft? Because they know what, there's so many different things.
Well, I don't know.
So.
That's risky
Maybe not
business.
Soft, huh?
Well, I mean, it's either a soft or an inner. It's a soft, wet, or inner. You don't run anything but that in quali. But like, I mean, but if it's also raining going into quali, FIA is going to come in and limit all their tires. But so at the end of the day, who can race best in those conditions? Lando has proven he's not bad in rain. Carlos does really good in the rain.
I think that at least humanizes Verstappen a little bit if it rains during quali.
Doesn't give him that much of an edge.
Dang, that's interesting. 50% chance.
Are we going to see those rain guards, boys?
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
But
it's 50% at around 12, and I think practice ends at 12:30 or starts at 12:30. So we might not even see rain during qualifying, but there's a chance.
I really want it just because I feel like it would be
we're still,
really
a
interesting.
few days away.
Really want
To
it.
talk about the wind guards real quick, I saw like a photo of Leclerc. It says Ferrari is trying out the new wind tunnels, and it was just like those boats that ride on like in Florida in the bayou. It just had that behind him in the car.
That's so funny.
Joe,
This is a tough one.
what's your podium?
This is a tough one.
Don't be a McLaren fanboy.
I'm unfortunately going to be a McLaren fanboy.
Both?
No, I don't think both.
Do it.
It's not a fanboy then.
So I don't see Checo getting podium either. He won the race 2 years ago, but he did so bad last year.
What this?
I know you're
His
right.
race
It'll
win.
come
Don't
down
get
for
me
qualifying.
started. The RPMs, bro. He did that on purpose. He crashed on
the
purpose.
crash. Yeah,
Don't get me
that's
started.
that's hearsay. Either way,
No, you can hear it on the
think-
and on the telemetry. You can see it. You can see it, homie. I looked into that. You can see that and hear it. Anyway, sorry. Go for it.
So
buddy.
anyway, I think
I don't get worked up about that.
I'm getting Verstappen. I'm gonna get Lando, and I'm gonna get Leclerc as well. I unfortunately. Just because it's kind of a meme now, I don't think Leclerc is going to win his home race because they just can't, right?
No,
He
there's
gets
a
so
weird
close.
omen there.
He'll
That's
get-
just
I could
happen.
see Leclerc getting pole this weekend. I don't think he's going to win the race though.
God, if
but
he got
luckily-
pole, I would cheer for him so hard,
Yeah,
dude. And
that would be great.
I don't hate Ferrari, but I'm just not a Ferrari fan.
I'm a Ferrari
It's just
fan
hype and
this
stuff,
year.
and I just
Yeah.
like everybody. A lot of people like him, so I hate him automatically. Same with Red Bull.
I'm the same.
But, like-
I was the same way last year. I really didn't like Ferrari. I became a fan this
But
year.
man, it would be awesome to see Charles win there. It would be.
Yeah.
Call me the Oregon Trail because next year when Lewis goes to Ferrari,
Sorry,
because next year when Lewis goes to Ferrari, I'm jumping on the bandwagon, dude. I tell you that right now. I'm getting
the Oregon Trail.
All right.
I'm gonna be in nothing but red every day. Okay.
That's so funny.
That was money, dude. So Cole's a Ferrari fan next year. Okay. So what's your official podium? then?
I'm a Lewis fan. I just want to real quick before we jump into my podium first. I'm in dead last right now. Can I go last? I think the dead last person.
We'll give an update on that real quick. Since
Did I go last every time I was in last? I don't know.
No, we've kind of been random.
Yeah.
So to bring that up, everybody got 2 points last week except for Smelty, who got 3.
Yaddy no.
So Joe and I are currently tied at 13. Smelty's at 12, and Cole's bringing up the rear at 11.
Yeah, but you're at 11 though.
I mean,
Like,
2
it's-
points from first to fourth.
See, this is what the constructors should look like. This close. That would be fun.
I'm just running it out there. Can we take a vote real quick? I go last. All
Looks
right,
like you're going right now, buddy.
All right, I'll hop in here. So I'm gonna
Wow, talk
I'm
about
gonna
throwing a guy a
mimic,
bone.
I'm gonna mimic Joe's podium. I got Verstappen, Lando, and Leclerc this week. It's gonna be the same podium as the last 2 races. Not too exciting in that regard. But I think Leclerc he races this. So if the team can get a car underneath him, it's his track.
100%.
I think the McLaren's just too quick for Lando not to qualify top 3, and Verstappen's gonna win.
Wait. You said McLaren's too quick to.
McLaren's quick to not qualify for Lando to qualify, for Lando to not qualify top 3. That car's
It's too
just
quick.
too
Got
quick.
it. Got it. Okay. Got it.
I got you here.
Nobody else left, so
I'm
I guess you could go if you want.
I'm going with the enemy this week. Okay. I'm gonna do Verstappen, Checo,
Whoa.
Leclerc.
Whoa.
Man, that's crazy. Maybe he knows something. Checo is really
Dark
good at street courses.
Road tracks are his.
But I don't know, man. This is such a
My
throwback.
gut coming
Didn't
into
look good
tonight
last
was
week.
also
He
to
didn't.
take Checo. 100%.
You're right, he didn't, yeah.
But
just didn't look good last week. Usually he rebounds, but that has not been the case this year.
Yeah, I've been taking Checo. I mean, you can check. I've been taking Checo a lot And
This is literally Joe's second time not taking Checo this year for the record.
I just think after seeing last race, I think it's like a turning point. I just think the rest of the season's going to look a little worse for him. He's still going to get podiums. Don't get me wrong.
And
no, go ahead, Spelty.
Just real quick, every race we mentioned that this is a bounce back race for Checo. It never happens.
That's
so far, which is weird.
Yeah.
So you, Mister, that Checo's in a Red Bull seat 100% next year. I just don't buy it.
I just don't see who they're the only.
Who else is going to be it?
The only person I could see filling that seat would be Science, and they just don't have enough to offer.
I'm with Tyler. I think yeah, Checo's getting the seat because there's no one else to take it.
At the end of the day, the dude's still P2 in the constructors.
Yeah.
Well, for sure.
WDC.
But it's similar to the Bottas with Lewis thing. Nobody looks at the second guy. They know he's there. They know he's a skilled driver, but nobody really pays attention to him. I think Checo falls into that a little bit.
Red Bull does. People might not. Red Bull does.
I mean, the only
if they do, they're disappointed with his performance.
Checo did actually fall out of the top 2 spot last week. Leclerc passed him. So Checo is now 3rd in the WDC.
And
interesting.
At the end, I talked about this with Tyler. I don't think that Perez, I think he's at 5th this year. I think he's at 5th in the drivers this year. But hey, he's not.
I think you said that even early on in the season.
I did.
Yeah.
You said he was out of 5.
All right, I'll say 6 still. I'll still admit to that.
I mean, he's 12 points away from dropping under Lando to go into 5th.
I don't think he's up there.
Sorry, he's 6 points.
I said this episode 1
for 4th. So I guess no. So
I said this episode 1.
Too many numbers again, bro.
He's not in the top 5. But I mean, as everybody knows, the fans know, we're 10 bands in each on the points spread at the end of the year. So I mean, I'm taking
this is news to me.
I'm taking the dark horse. I gotta take Perez. Checo's going up there. He's getting 3. Leclerc's getting 2. I agree with you, Smelty. I think Leclerc might be able to take the pole on this one.
If he gets pole, I'm rooting for him so hard to win the race. But just with the past and Leclerc at Monaco specifically, it doesn't track that way for him to get a dub, even with a pole.
I mean,
but
I'll kind of throw this out. Are we going to see a Ferrari strategy mix up like we have the past 2 years? Because that's pretty much what ruined his races, right?
We haven't seen that all year this year.
You're right. It's been a good year.
2 years ago, it wasn't strategy. They couldn't just put the car under.
Real quick, and then
he didn't even get to strategy.
Well, 2 years ago he got pole, and then he got messed up on pit strategy.
2 years ago
was when he got the pole and his engine killed on the formation lap.
3 years ago.
Yeah,
my bad.
2 years ago they put water in his engine.
Yeah, that's right.
Real quick, obviously we're all team principals here, but when do you actually decide the race strategy for your cars going into the GP? Is that
weeks?
Weeks in advance?
100%.
But then you modify it during practice.
This is where we talked about it earlier in this episode. This is where Ferrari does it right. They do it real time. Who is performing well that race?
I think he's asking a different question. Is like the strategy
going into the race
because they're both
before the GP starts. If your 2 drivers are going to have 2 different strategies, when does that get decided?
But they talk about that. Okay, so
that's a different thing.
Let's go to B. Let's go to B. Let's go to C. Strategy B. Like there's so many strategies. I think they come in here with a ton of strategies for every circumstance that pops up. So like weeks.
Obviously, they do obviously all change
weeks
real
in advance.
Time,
there's a ton of strategies they go into this race with, but I think real time you only really know what you know when you're in the race.
Yeah, but your plan A. When do you think you decide that?
So that I think is like I think you have like the strategies A through M, whatever it is, and they're the same for both drivers.
Well, the alphabet's A through Z.
Well, I don't think they have 26.
Hopefully they don't have 26.
That's what I was. When I
start saying A2, then you know something's wrong.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
I mean, with Ferrari, they might have a freaking
I just wanted to make sure. I don't know my 1, 2, 3s tonight. I want to make sure you know your ABC.
Yeah, if you hear the engineer saying we're going with Plan Z, something went very wrong.
Yeah, again, I just got thrown in there. Public schools, baby. That's top of his class, valedictorian right there.
I did go to public school.
But I think to answer your question, I think they have those strategies and they're the same for each driver going into it, and then when they make that decision comes down to practice, qualifying, and then how the race is going.
Sure.
So I think you have a strategy in mind going what you're going to think, and then how practice goes, how you qualify, because then it comes down to like what tires do you start with.
For sure.
Like so there's
and that's what I mean. And boy, we really got to end this. But does Plan A change? Like in practice, going into practice 3, you got Plan A and what your stuff you're going to run during practice and blah blah blah, whatever sessions you're doing. I don't know. Blah, blah. does plan A change from that practice to what plan A is in the GP then, right before the race?
Yeah.
You know, and you modify it that way, and then B and C and D and so on to M or Z, whatever. Whenever your alphabet ends.
Obviously, a big fan.
That changes.
A big fan this year, Danica Patrick. I have her on speed dial. I'll give her a call after this, and we'll update
That doesn't
next episode.
surprise me.
Thanks.
That doesn't surprise me.
We appreciate that.
Can I ask why we're getting a NASCAR driver involved?
Drive to survive, baby.
He's just got to mention somebody, bro.
That's right. She was on drive. Why was she on drive to survive?
I
didn't get it.
I know the answer, but we don't have time to talk about it. Okay.
We'll throw it into news next week.
Sure. Okay. I'll throw Danica Patrick in the news next week. Sure.
And everybody will be just as surprised as Drive to Survive fans were. They'll be like, what are we doing? Is this fast laps?
Oh, man.
With that, let's just wrap it up. Obviously, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely subscribe on YouTube. We do have a show next week as we will be wrapping Monaco and previewing what? What is after Monaco?
What is
I can't
after
remember
Monaco? I'm not
off
actually
the top
sure.
of my noggin.
Hold, please.
Hold. We're
Canada.
Canada. That's right.
Canada.
That's
Yes.
right.
Track.
It's a fun track and F1.
I think that's a good track for Checo.
It's not a street track.
No, it's a good track.
That's
That's a good track
right.
for McLaren.
That's
Watch
right.
out.
I think I agree. I think that's going to be a good track for McLaren.
Well,
It's a lot of fast corners.
again, with that, again, like, comment, subscribe. Again, one more thanks to Kev behind the cameras making this all happen.
Thanks, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, with that, we'll just be back next week. Oh,
See you guys later.
ding.
Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. Tune in next time for more Banter with the boys.